So we're here in the WiT studio with Steve Quan, SVP Hotel Enterprise Partnerships at Expedia Group. Steve, thank you so much for doing this today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I'm pleased to be here.
I want to start off by asking you about Expedia Group's new survey that says that 98% of hoteliers lose revenue to rate leakage or misuse. So it's a universal issue, right? In your view, what are the most hidden root causes of leakage today?
Glad you asked the question that way, because I think the obvious answer is intentional rate misuse by bad actors who are looking to use discounted pricing to gain a competitive advantage in the marketplace. We all know that. And it's a serious problem. It's a challenging problem, really hard to fix. However, in contrast, there are hidden issues which are easily fixed, at least in our opinion. And I'd say it's really kind of a combination of fragmentation and complexity. And what I mean by that is in fragmentation, there are a ton of distribution partners, channels. You could have platforms, you could have individual players, you could have an individual travel agent. They all have different systems. There are a ton of connectivity APIs. There's all this stuff. And then it takes a whole lot of people to manage all of those systems, product people and tech people to figure out how to make all these connections. And if you can simply take all of that and consolidate, so you eliminate those things within your control, you actually get simplicity and you get cost savings, time savings, effort savings, and you actually get more data because you have a holistic way of approaching things. Because you don't know the adage, which is unless you can measure something, right, you can't manage it. And so we believe that fragmentation and the complexity of the system, it's a hidden problem, but it's actually something that can be addressed and make a material impact on rate abuse and solving it.
Right. Since you said that, and since you know the cause now, right? You said they can be measured. I guess my natural follow-up question would be, which of those issues or causes or challenges do you think can be solved by automation versus centralization versus needing major organizational change?
I think the simple answer is all of the above. So I would argue centralization, automation, and kind of alignment of goals and efforts, they all go hand in hand.
Complete overhaul.
Exactly. You can't do one without the other. So, for example, I think centralization enables you, right, to have one consistent set of data, one consistent, kind of call it dashboard, one consistent approach. So that is there. And then if you build in smart automation with the partner you choose for centralization, right, then that enables everything else. But you really have to have, I think, the willpower to say, I want this to be fixed. I want to save monies. I want to use my resources and allocate that capital and those people to something better than just attacking this kind of, we call it a whack-a-mole problem of rate abuse. And I think if you get all three aligned, that's when a hotel or hotel chain can actually realize material benefits in that respect.
Right. And it's so funny, right? Because, with all the technology and all the automation and all the solutions, it boils down to like a human mindset problem. It's just someone saying, I want to fix it.
Correct. I would argue it's not laziness, right? I think there's almost a learned helplessness in the industry where people go, the industry is complex, it's too hard to fix, I don't even know where to begin. But I think if you simply say, this is my desired outcome, I want this to be an outcome, I want to save money, I want to do this better, and you're willing to say, I may need to give up a little bit of control, or at least perceived control, to go get that desired outcome, that's when I think all this potential solutions get unlocked. But I think it takes that first step of saying, I can do things in a different way. I can rely upon someone else, right? You think about all the different industries, people generally don't like outsourcing from, right? Everyone wants control. I'm a control freak in my personal life. I want all the control. But once I realized I actually consolidate by using, for example, in personal finance, to look at my net personal portfolio health of my finances, I use third-party services. I could do everything myself. I could create an Excel spreadsheet, but it's so simple to use solutions that simply use connectivity APIs to all my banks, all my brokerages, all my IRAs, all of my different investment vehicles, and pull into one holistic dashboard. I can make smart management decisions. To me, if you can do it in your personal life, why can't you do it at a sophisticated business that's running a hotel or hotel chain?
On such a high tier level.
Exactly.
Right. The survey also found that 54% of hoteliers say that they're only somewhat confident in managing prices across all channels. And you said that sort of that fear of losing control, right? So what do you think are the biggest roadblocks for hoteliers when it comes to solving that challenge?
It was an interesting stat, right? So, and it's really emphasizing the word of what's your confidence level? And I think the confidence level inherently kind of keys on one thing, which is lack of knowledge. So I'd say the thing is all about lack of knowledge due to that fragmentation and complexity we just talked about. And I think the problem is people don't even know what the size of the problem. And so if you don't really know the full size of the problem, how can you feel confident? And so I think
you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know, right? Again, so it's the whole you can't manage what you don't measure. And so if you don't know what the problem is, you're kind of going, eh. And some people are saying, life is good enough. My profitability is fine. My revenue is fine. So let's just keep doing the things the old way. Yeah. But if you knew there was a better way of doing things, if you knew you could actually give yourself that assurance, if you knew you could manage better, why wouldn't you? But I think it's really just lack of knowledge is really, I think, is the biggest problem there.
Right. The survey was conducted across 8 different markets. Did you notice major differences in rate misuse and leakage by hotel size or region? What I mean is like something like US versus Europe versus Asia and how that sort of differs.
I think the simple answer, no. Right. The problem is universal. I think it's clear, no hotel is immune. Doesn't matter what segment, doesn't matter if it's a select service hotel, if it's a full service luxury. The problem addresses or impacts all hotels. Every single region, there are probably specific nuanced differences as to why maybe some regions are more dependent upon, say, travel agents or OTAs or some other kind of distribution type of channel. But really, it's a universal problem, agnostic as to hotel size, geo, I even say kind of like management style, like whether or not you give your GM a lot of power or you completely say, you know what, I want to centralize this at either a chain or some kind of owner, right? The problem exists everywhere. It's a universal, ever-present problem. So I would say there's really no real distinct differences by any geo or hotel segment.
Right. So sticking with that, Expedia Group's data says that a centralized platform would reduce leakage and improve the revenue problem or revenue protection, more like. What do you see as trade-offs or risks of centralizing distribution, if there are any?
I think, I'll stipulate, we think it's a great solution. We think there are no downsides. Yeah. But from the hotel point of view, I think there's going to be a perceived lack of control, right? The concept you always hear the phrase, do I want to put too many eggs in one basket? And I think the concept of that is probably mitigated by the fact of 2 things. One, there's a network effect game with our program, which is, if we go back to kind of the misuse by intentional bad actors. Right. If you centralize with Expedia, one thing Expedia brings as the benefit is, if there's a bad actor, they don't just lose that individual hotel's inventory. We can essentially turn off all of the hotels who participate in our entire ecosystem from that bad actor. Now imagine that bad actor loses access to the inventory of not just that one hotel, but a plethora of hotel chains and individual hotels. They cease to exist, as a viable travel portal. So you really benefit from, I think, the scale effect. So that's one. So yes, you're losing perceived control, but you're actually gaining more control from the, call it, collective enforceability of, the power of a platform. I think the second
because it becomes like a single channel more like.
I would argue it's not a single channel because the beauty of our footprint is a vastly diverse, set of channels, and you can kind of take the advantage of the entire breadth. It's more that the enforcement ability. So any one hotel, they say, hey, I think I found out that you're using a rate inappropriately. That person says, fine, I'll stop using that, and then they'll do it again. But are they really going to change behavior if a single hotel says, I'm going to, shut you? Now, again, if that travel portal, that OTA, someone loses thousands, if not hundreds of thousands hotels, that's a different enforcement game, right? So suddenly you might have actual behavior change because a platform is enforcing credit rate misuse versus an individual hotel.
Power in numbers.
Power of numbers.
What is a strategic partnership that significantly moved the needle for Expedia Group? And how did it happen? And what did it change, more importantly?
Got it. So first, I'd have to say, we love all of our children equally. But I would say we have immense gratitude to Marriott in 2019, collaborating with us and really being the launch partner and helping us shape and design the Optimized Distribution Program, which is our name for the B2B network centralized program. And I would say, one, just first kudos to that. More recently, we've announced other very large chains, IHG, Accor, have both now opted into the program. Actually, APAC specific, I think the audience for here would be very interested. Como Group, which is headquarters here in lovely Singapore, as well as Dusit have been publicly announced as well as participants. So I think Merit obviously gets a lot of credit for kind of being the first mover and really kind of being that pioneer. But I would say really it's the collective power of, we have now, can't say exactly how many, but we have double-digit chains and thousands of individual hotels all participating in programs. So it's really that scale game, which we were talking about before. In terms of what really moves the needle, I think it's exactly that. It's really just taking that scale and breadth of the massive distribution reach combined with the best-in-class inventory, and partners who've now proven and kind of validated the concept of a centralized approach to B2B distribution actually works, right? The fact that Marriott is still, after 6 years, a deep strategic partner, continue to use what we call our preferred model, where they use our single pipe. They're not just using reach, but actually using it to solve rate integrity. I think that's proof positive of kind of the impact on us and them, and it's really mutually beneficial. And that's where we believe the program is. You kind of get what you put into it, and if you put into it, right, some trust and credibility into what they believe what we're doing and our value, then they get that return back.
Right, the impact causing.
Exactly.
Right. So looking ahead, what's a key market trend that's still in its infancy today or in 2025, but will have a big impact on the market in 2026?
All right, this is going to be a complete cop-out. AI. You can't
escape it.
I can't escape it. And I would say it is the most talked about thing in 25. It will continue to be the most talked about thing in 26, right? No doubt. I think our particular angle on AI, and particularly when you talk about B2B distribution, I think I'll use two words, predictive and proactive. And I think the beauty of AI, the beauty of these scale systems, it allows you to take both historical data and actually real-time or near real-time data that's happening right now, and combining those to really figure out, one, how do you identify and fix a problem that's happening today? Two, really you look at it and go, how do I predict what's actually going to happen in the future and actually make smart moves so that you can be proactive and prevent the future incidents? And I think that that data set at a large scale, the tooling that you now build into the AI systems, and again, some of it you can do autonomously as opposed to relying upon some human being to actually take that intervening or fixing issue, which saves time, cost, effort, right?
Right. And you believe it's still very much in its infancy?
I believe, yeah. I mean, using an American baseball analogy, I think we're inning one in a 9-inning game, or it's very early. I think you look at the adoption curve; it's massive, but I think we're just still really figuring out what are the applications that actually make sense, and what are the applications where you really get the ROI from because it's not cheap. Right, AI tokenization is expensive. Getting your data set clean enough so that AI can actually be leveraged on top and actually produce results is not cheap. And so I think to do that, you got to be comfortable saying, I know I'm going to get the output that's actually worth that return of effort and cost.
Right. So if you could fix one challenge today in hotel, hospitality, the distribution landscape, what would it be and why? So is it like a tech issue, people issue, finance issue?
I would say it's intentional misuse of rates by bad actors. Point blank, it makes me angry. Like travel is an amazing thing, right? There's a reason why travel and hospitality has kind of forced this macro secular trend of people buying experiences, not things, because it's amazing, right? You get great memories, etc. The fact that we waste so much time and effort talking about rate misuse or compliance teams figuring out why is this rate plan being used over here by this entity, it's an utter waste of resources. It's an utter waste of time, effort. And if you can imagine a world where you can fix that, right? Here's my dream. I want somewhere in the future, someone who's in the industry has to look up the phrase rate misuse. And they'll go to the web, and who knows? It might be Google, might be ChatGPT, who knows where the future goes. But they'll have to look it up because they don't know what it is, right? It's not happening, it's not common. They'll go, that's an interesting historical artifact. Too bad the industry did that. To me, that's my dream. Now the question is that will we realize that? It's going to be our children, will be our children's children, and that's where I think the industry together can make smart decisions, and we can shrink the timeline to actually get to that future. But that's my dream.
To make it completely obsolete.
Exactly. Because again, right, if you think about just the amount of time and effort wasted, right, there's costs. You have costs in, the rate shopping tools and vendors. It's not cheap. You have costs if you're particularly like a chain doing test bookings, particularly on non-refundables. It's not cheap. You have, I think the most important, again, another hidden cost, it's the people, right? You have to train, or rather, first you have to hire, train, and manage all these people.
Expensive.
Figure out the complexity of compliance. You have to have all these people who manage all these different relationships. whether it's deal people, legal people, account management people, right, product and tech and connectivity people, all to right, work on this ecosystem. If you can solve all that and rip away those costs, that's all, call it, opportunity for revenue and kind of travel enhancing activities that actually are great for the industry. Leads to what I would call the flywheel of better stays, better experiences. It means people will continue to double down on the trend of buy more experiences rather than things, which is an incredible flywheel effect for the entire industry. So to me, it's if you can solve the problem and you can eliminate this cost and repurpose all that time and effort into a better travel experience, we all win.
Awesome. Steve, thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. This is fun to be here. Thank you.
Oh, the next 2 hours, what's waiting?